Alright, sanibonani. Just a quick one, ne? Ngifuna ukubuza ukuthi mina njengoba sithi singamaKristu siyakholwa, ne? Kunamagama athile bengifisa ukuthi siwabheke ukuthi abuyaphi, and why do we have those words? And in the place of those words, those same things that we call those things by those words, what were they called by our ancestors before the white people came to be part of our communities as they are now? For example, itafula, iskole, iveke, ivenkele, imoto, idimoni, ingelos, zonke lezo zinto, imali, zonke lezo zinto. What did we call these things before abelungu befike to influence our languages? Angithi niyabona ukuthi sesinenkinga already, because ungabheka lezi zinto you'll realize ukuthi what Europeans basically did, ne? They brought in theirs to replace ours. For example, ake sixoxe ngedlozi, asikhulume ngedlozi, ne? Idlozi today, if you say idlozi, even though now I know this very moment right now, and as I'm saying this in this 1 minute 35 seconds of this video, the fact that I've said idlozi, a person who's a Christian is already their main, this part of them is their hair is already standing up like it's fire. Jesus name. Idlozi lan. Yes, idlozi, asikhulume ngedlozi. Idlozi, ne? If you look properly in our language today, the term idlozi alisasebenzi kakhulu in the Christian sector. Remember ukuthi umZulu ongumKristu nomZulu oyinyanga boyithula abantu basese amaZulu. They should be able to communicate using the same language and bazwane kahle kungabi nankinga. But manje umZulu oyinyanga or umZulu okholelwa endleleni yesintu nomZulu okholelwa kwiSkristu, labantu angeke basazwana kahle ngolwimi, because umZulu ongumKristu is no longer in the same space of operating as umZulu okholelwa esintwini. You know why? Because Christianity, you know, when they say an apple does not fall far from a tree, this thing is true. Because Christianity is still having that European stance. The posture of Christianity is still a European one in terms of language, in terms of fashion, in terms of color and identity. To be a Christian, you cannot be a proper Christian whilst you're an African and still living and practicing life in your basic African way. You have to sort of shed off a few things and adopt a few things, if not all things, from the European side of things. For example, if you look at what is idlozi, I've taken my time in the past few weeks. I've been visiting some old Zulu people, particularly Zulu, and I've visited. There's another Baba here, Tsabet, La Rosenville. In a few weeks ago, I sat with him down to talk. It was okay. I'm jail Bab Tabet uting esintu is swati do Bab Tabet, ne? And then I've got another gentleman that I've been talking to. He's a very eloquent Zulu man. I've been talking to these guys to understand you guys manity laws in Zulu, not what we understand now. Remember, there is a way that we can convince ourselves that this thing is this, but when that thing is not really that, even though because we've convinced ourselves this thing will work, but that thing is not that. I don't know if you get me there. So I spoke to this gentleman, like just seeking for information here to understand when you talk of idlozi, what exactly are you talking about? So it appears idlozi is an equivalent of the spirit. NgesiZulu mawuthi idlozi, if you are interpreting for a non-Zulu crowd and you are speaking English, you must say the spirit. If umuntu athi idlozi lafika lat, you must say in English, the spirit came and said. Now, a question comes again into saying, why do we demonize amadlozi? But we are happy with spirits. We are happy with the word spirit, but we have a problem with the word amadlozi. You know, when someone says, the spirit, the people have patience and they can ask you to say, oh, which spirit? But when you say idlozi, nobody wants to know and say, liphi idlozi. If you notice, our old people, they will tell you, kunedlozi elihle, kunedlozi elibi. Meaning that there's an evil spirit and then there's a good spirit. For example, we have the Holy Spirit. We have evil spirits. We have demons. We have angels. We have got the cherubim. We have got the ophanim. We have got the those beings that we've got the elders. We've got the living creatures. Again, there comes isiZulu again isidalwa ngesizulu. Here comes another one again. AmaZulu but isidalwa. Traditional people, they will tell you ukuthi isidalwa zakini kofuneka nizingenise ekhaya. How isidalwa? Yini isidalwa? But if you go to the Bible again, you'll find that they are living creatures. So my question is that why is it that these things, amadlozi, is thunywa? When we look at these things, people get offended in church and they say, no, we have fallen from grace, we are demonic, we are subscribing to evil spirits, just because I said idlozi. And again, when it comes to izinyanga, when you say, hey, I was sick, Bazolne, last week I had a terrible, terrible headache. I visited, I visited my grandmother or my aunt. She is an inyanga. In church, you are not going to succeed with that language. They are going to crucify you, of which my question is, what about the same song again that you sing in church? You say, inyanga enkulu ikhona la, ogama lingweJesu. Inyanga, not just an ordinary inyanga, inyanga enkulu, a great healer. But in church, when you say that, no, umoya obunyanga, God, I want you to give me the spirit of healing. It's just like I think in the book of 2 Corinthians, it says that this spirit, he gave gifts. Some people are healers. Zinyanga, right? A healer is an inyanga in our African Nguni languages. If you don't know this, please talk to your Xhosa friends and ask them. Just say, what does the word inyanga mean? Not in a spiritual way or in any way, just the word itself. When you say inyanga, a Xhosa person will tell you that no, inyanga it means to heal. That's why when you're sick, Xhosa people will tell you that the funum does nyanga, yo ndiyagula, yo. You understand? Funa inyanga. Your mother can be your inyanga because she's the one who's rushing up and down, going to the cabinets, opening cabinets, looking for medication, pouring in a spoon, giving you, getting those gingers and those garlics and making the concoctions and giving you. She's actually being an inyanga in that particular moment. She's enacting inyanga. She's in the office of inyanga. But when we say inyanga in our African languages, if you use that word in church, they're going to cast evil spirits out of you. Because ubunyanga is evil, according to Christianity. And even your attire, your simple attire, if you go to church and you use and wearing your simple Zulu attire, you put on your, I don't know what they call this, the headband, you put on this pandasako, you put on, these things are said to be evil. But they are able to go into a shop and buy those copper, that copper, it helps with stress. Those copper bangles they put on their hands. In the same way, your grandfather, who is gifted by God to understand, he knows that if he can take this intambo, those intambos you see them using, they can take those intambos and soak them in water for like maybe 7 days. That particular water has got certain chemicals, and they know what, those chemicals are able to soak into that wool. And when you put them in your body, the essence of it's about the chemical now. The essence of the chemical, it can do the magic. Just like that copper belt that copper bangle is doing on your... Of course, I'm not arguing that there are people that do these things. There are people that have got gifts by God. They can manipulate those gifts and serve evil. In fact, I don't know if people understand that all power belongs to God, ne? God's power can be manipulated by a good person or by an evil person. Anybody can do this as long as you learn it. You can do these things. And so my question is, why is it that we are okay with what is taught in church without questioning it? But when something, even if something is godly, but when it comes out of church, when it comes from outside of church, we have a problem. For example, polygamy. Polygamy is such a beautiful and blessed thing. Imagine, lady, you was fighting against polygamy. You have a daughter. You know all these children here in the community, these boy children here, you know them. They grew up under your feet. You know that, hey, kuna lumfana wasbiya yazi, he is so well mannered, is well behaved, you know. He's already married. Last year, 2 years back, we were marrying him. You know, he married that daughter lapaya, he married lapaya in that house. Now, here is this boy coming saying he wants to marry your daughter. And you know him, he's a good man. You know for sure in the depths of your heart, Utamtanam is going to be in that homestead, she's going to be married. Please don't be negative now and start telling me that, no, it's temp. Don't go there. We are talking about the idea of your daughter being married to a man and being a second wife to a man who's godly and will take care of your daughter well. You are not going to accept that because you have already been taught that it's temp CB. What if it's tembu? What if it's a woman? What if this woman is the one that says, "Nyasfuna minis tembu ne? It's tembu si godly. I love it, and I'm going to respect the other lady." And the other lady says, "You know what? I'm going to respect that other lady." Don't you already see, Wuti? The way you are thinking, you are not thinking straight. You are not in your senses. Here, you are being controlled by a power that is above you. The power of Christianity, my friends. It is the one that is making you. You can't use your brains. You are not in a position to use your brains because this thing is a stronghold. Anything that it says to you, you are willing to take it. But anything that comes from God, even if it's God speaking to you, you are not willing to take it because it didn't come from church. So my question is, why are we okay with taking things that come from, things that have a European stance? We're okay with them. We have no problems. Just like in South Africa, a white person who is not documented, who doesn't have documents, they can do anything when nobody will bother them. But I've got a friend of mine is from Malamlele. I don't want to say his name on social media. He was arrested by the police 2 weeks back because they thought he's from Malawi. So they were going around here arresting people. He was telling me that, hey, bro. One more pile ni lapa one more pile, you know how Tonga guys speak when they speak, one more pile ni lapa John Forst, I understand. And I'm thinking, I'm like, how it says no, they didn't believe me until somebody from the family has to bring his ID. They have to come and fetch him out because the police did not believe that you can't be South African, even though he's speaking I'm saying it's the same things, guys. Don't you see that the things that are happening in church are the very things that we have happening in our societies where people don't want to engage their minds? As long as it's from church, it's fine. We can do it. But if you go again, you read in the Bible, you listen to how Jesus was saved from the hands of Herod. When Herod was busy killing people, an angel came. That thing that says angel, I want us to ask our old people, Ingilosi zazibizwani ngalezi yazikhathi before we had Ingilosi in Africa, because Ingilosi, they are a new thing. Ingilosi, they are less than 500 years old. They've never been here. We don't know Ingilosi in Africa, because remember that language is what? A language is a carrier and a vehicle of information. In order, like now you're listening to this video, I'm talking like this in this video. You're understanding what I'm saying because I'm using a language that you understand. But if I spoke another language, you're not going to hear me because there's a barrier now between us. So I'm saying, before we had izingelosi, what did our old people call these things? These things were called tunywa. It was this tunywa or idlo. In fact, this word idlos is an umbrella. It's an umbrella. Inside yamadlozi, kunonkulunkulu phakathi emadlozini. Kuno Sathani phakathi emadlozini. Kunazo lezi zithunywa esesithi zingelosi namhlanje. Kunamadimoni. Ingilosi is a basket. a basket that contains, it's like a fruit basket. If I say, hey, can you give me a fruit? And if inside here there's oranges, there is apples, there is peaches, there is pomegranates and grapes, you may have to ask me to say, which fruit do you want? Because the basket has got a lot of fruits in it. You understand? So I have to be specific now. You know what? Inside that fruit basket, please give me some red grapes. And also the grapes have got, they are also different. So amadlozi nawanjalo bafowethu.